Hi everyone, this is Hetty McKinnon and welcome to Hetty's Chinese Takeaway series with ABC Everyday. I created the series with ABC Everyday as a way of celebrating all our favourite Chinese takeaway meals. I have many personally and I'm sure you do too. And today we're making one of the recipes from that series, which is sweet and sour eggplant. Now there are many dishes that are synonymous with Chinese takeaway in Australia, and sweet and sour pork is one of them. But today we're going to be making a vegetarian version using Chinese eggplant, which is sometimes called Japanese eggplant. You can also use regular eggplant, but the reason why I like the Chinese or Japanese version is the flesh tends to be a little bit milder, it has less seeds, and it cooks a little bit quicker. I also like the shape of it because it's easy to cut into the chunks that we need for this dish. Now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make the sweet and sour sauce. It's super simple. All you need to do is mix all the ingredients together and it's going to be cooked later with the stir fry. So we have some ketchup, some sugar for our sweetness, some soy sauce, Shaoxing wine, which is going to add a lovely perfume to the sauce, some white vinegar, some vegetable stock, some grated garlic and grated ginger, and some corn flour. And then all you're going to do is just mix this up, just enough to dissolve the corn flour and the sugar. Now the next thing we're going to do is peel the eggplant and cut it into chunks. Now the next thing we're going to do is make a little marinade for our eggplant. Now as you know, eggplant is like a sponge. It's going to soak up whatever flavour and seasonings you add to it. So this is a great opportunity to add more flavour to the eggplant before we roll it in the batter. So to make the marinade, it's really simple. In this bowl we have 1 tablespoon of Shaoxing wine, 1 tablespoon of soy sauce, and to this we're just going to add 1 egg, and we're just going to beat that up. If you're vegan, you could replace the egg with a flax egg. That would work too. And once that is well mixed, we're just going to throw all our eggplant into the bowl. Then, using our hands, because let's face it, that's the easiest, we're just going to toss the eggplant in the egg. Now we're ready to batter our eggplant. Now, I think I mentioned earlier, but our batter is simply corn flour. That is it. It has no seasonings in there because your seasoning is already on your eggplant. Now, you can also use other types of starches for this. You could use potato starch, you could use tapioca starch. You could also use plain flour. Now, the reason why I use corn flour is because it's inexpensive. I always have some in my pantry, and you know it's often hard to get through the corn flour, so this is a great way of using it up. And secondly, it gives you the crispiest finish. I've tried frying with all of the starches I mentioned earlier and plain flour, and I just love the crispiness that you get from corn flour, because the thing is, after you add the sauce, it kind of stays crunchy, and that's the kind of contrasting textures we're looking for. So use corn flour if you have it, and plain flour if you don't. Now to coat the eggplant, we're going to dig each piece out individually and roll it in the corn flour. The reason why I'm not going to throw it all in is because there's still some marinade left in the bowl, and if that mixes with the corn flour, it's just going to become a big clump. So the best way of doing this is actually each individual piece. It's a little bit more time consuming, but it's worth the effort. And we're just going to roll the eggplant in the corn flour so it's coated on all sides. So now we're ready to start frying our eggplant. I've got a 1/4 cup of neutral oil in here, and that's been heating for about 30 seconds. And if you just want to test if it's hot enough, you can just put some wooden chopsticks in there, and if the oil sizzles, which this is right here, it's ready to start frying. Now we're just going to add eggplant in a single layer, not too close together because we don't want them to stick.
I'm going to let that fry for 1 to 2 minutes on each side, and we're going to fry all the sides of the eggplant so it's golden all over. Can you see how crispy that cornflour butter is? So after your eggplant is ready, your pan should still have a little bit of oil in there, and that's enough to cook the rest of the dish. We're going to add some capsicum and onions. And we're just going to toss this for 3 to 4 minutes. After 3 to 4 minutes, we're going to add our pineapple and we'll toss that for a minute. We're going to add our sauce to the pan, but before we do that, we're going to give it a little stir just to make sure the corn flour is all mixed in. And we're going to pour that straight in. Let's toss it with the vegetables, and we're just going to cook this until it thickens. Let's add a pinch of salt. And when the sauce is nice and thick, we can add our eggplant in. And give it just a nice toss.
So our sweet and sour eggplant is ready, and of course I'm going to eat this with rice. So let's spoon some on top of this. I can smell all the amazing sweet and sour flavors coming up into my nose. It's lovely. And of course I'm just going to finish with some sesame seeds. Oh, that smells wonderful. So this is my sweet and sour eggplant, and thank you for cooking along with me today as we celebrate all the wonderful Chinese takeaway dishes that we grew up eating in Australia. And if you want to try this dish or any of my other Chinese takeaway dishes, which are all vegetarian, find the recipes over at ABC Everyday. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.